Hi everybody, I'm going to record a video with the basic instructions for making one of my albums, and this will probably be good if you're doing any of my albums, okay? So not necessarily anybody else's, but it's a good basic for mine. Okay, so first let's see with what materials you will require. So you will require pattern paper. I'm going to be using Compositions by Blue Fern Studio for the purpose of this demonstration. I'm just going to take a pack of 10, which I'm not going to use all of them, but just so that we have a fun album to start with. And you're going to need some background solid colors, which I did not pull out, but this is, let's say, a solid color cardstock. It's a cardstock that has one color and a colored core, which means it doesn't have a white core here. It is all solid color. So we will take a few of those in various colors. You need basic cardstock. This is what you're going to build your album with, and they come in a whole bunch of different colors as well. The most common ones are the black, the white, and craft colors. So I have, even in craft colors, there are different color craft colors. They also have different colors like blue, red, brown. This is a brown one. And as far as weight goes, the lightest I would recommend using is 65 pounds, and it goes all the way up to 110. There are some that are more than that, but I wouldn't recommend using very heavy. A combination of some 110 and some lighter, like 80, will be great. You know, 65 can be nice for the cover as well. Okay, so just take a bunch of those, and you need, for an album, you probably need a pack of at least 50. Okay, let's see what else you will require as far as tool goes. You'll need some kind of a paper trimmer and a scoreboard. This is a combination of a scoreboard and a paper trimmer that I'm using. You can use paper trimmer and scoreboard separate, obviously. Okay. Oh, my dogs just started barking. I use score tape. That is double-sided tape in 4 different sizes. I usually use the 5/8. This is the 1/4 inch. This is 3/8 of an inch, and the 1/2 inch. If you only use 2, I would say take a 1/4 inch and the 3/8. These are the 2 most common ones. Also, some kind of blade, scissors, pencils, ruler, of course glue. Some kind of a white glue is good. This is the one I use, Art Glitter Glue. Okay, let's move on. Other tools, my bone folder. I usually use this one also as a scoring tool. This is just an embossing tool, but it has a little ball at the end, and I like using that. I have some kind of a plastic glue spreader that I cut my tape with. Just easy to hold in my hand. It has a flat edge here, and it's plastic, so I can use it to cut my tape or to spread glue if I put too much on, to clean. It's a really useful little thing. This one is from Helmar, HELMAR.com. I got it many years ago. I don't know if they have it available or not, but any glue spreader will do. Okay, I think I got most of the things done. Oh, sorry, we need some kind of ink. I have either this one, or I like using this because it has 4 different colors. Usually brown or dark gray or black are my go-to. And one of those for the one of those dabbers for the ink. I have punch tools that do the punch corners, and I like using circles a lot, so I have the circles in various sizes. Ribbons, if you want to add ribbons in, again, various widths. This is for the top outside of the cover, but sometimes you want to use smaller ones, but different ribbons. Maybe a thread. This is a linen thread. It's covered in a little wax, so it is very strong and easy to use. And a variety of eyelets. And the bookbinding tape. This is for your cover. You need the bookbinding tape, or if you don't have bookbinding tape, you can use masking tape, or actually not masking tape. Use the gray one. What do you call it? I forgot. The really strong ones. Okay. So let's begin. Okay. So I'm just going to go over some of the basic. Okay, when you see my instructions, and I should really have printed it out, but I'll try to insert it here somehow. Okay, let's take a piece of paper and I will write it down for you so that you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. Okay, I'll take a decent piece of paper. Okay, so every time you'll see my cut list, divided into 3 sections, which this first section will be the name of the part of the section that we're doing. That's the first column. Will be, let's say, section A, and I will give it a number, A1, A2, A3, etc. And then I'll give it a name. Okay, this is the base. This will be a top flap. This will be a pocket. So you'll have the name of it. The second is the measurement of how I'm going to cut my base cardstock. Okay, so the base cardstock, you'll see a measurement here. Let's say I want to do an album that is 6 by 6. So I'm going to do the base 6 5/8, and then you'll see me put in a little bit 2 letters or 1 letter, either S or DS or TS next to it. And then you'll say by, the little X is by, and another measurement. So that tells you what I need to cut it to and where I need to score. Okay. Let's say a top flap will be 6 1/2. Okay, 6 1/2 with 1 S by 4. Okay, let's say. And then you'll have a pocket. So let's do a pocket that is 5, and I'll have S times 3, and then 1 S next to the 3. So what does it mean? Every time you see something in parentheses, it's the side where it needs to get scored. And if I have DS, it's double score, S is 1 score, SS is you score it on both sides. And I'll show you what I mean right now. So let's take the first one. It's 6 5/8 by 6. So I'm going to cut my piece at 6 5/8 by 6. And let's use this one. So I'm going to cut it at 6 5/8 by 6. Here's my piece. 6 5/8 here and 6 here. I have a DS next to the 6 5/8. So I'm going to put the 6 5/8 on the top portion of my cutting board or my scoring board. And I'm going to always score at a 1/2 inch. The first score is always at a 1/2 inch, and the second score is right next to it at 5/8. So I scored 2 lines at 1/2 inch and at 5/8, and I give it a double score line. Okay. Let's do it again. The second one, A2, is 6 1/2 by 4. At 6 1/2 by 4. Okay, and I have only one S next to the 6 1/2. So you take this, you put the 6 1/2 on top, and you score 1/2 inch over here. So you only have one score line here at a 1/2 inch. Okay, let's see a pocket. I have 5 by 3, so I'm going to trim it at 5 by 3. That's a 5 by 3. Okay, I have 2 S's next to the 5. It's a S and S. So if I put the 5 on the top, you do 1/2 inch scoring on the right and a 1/2 inch score line on the left. That's the SS means. It means you score twice on the same side, but once on the right side and once on the left. And then you have a 1 score line next to the 3. So you turn it around so that the 3 is on top, and you score it once here. So now you have 3 score lines, 1, 2, and 3. Okay. If I said a triple score, okay, on a triple score, I score 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. And I scored it 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. Sometimes I will ask you to trim it, to score it at 1 inch. So you score it at 1 inch, not at a 1/2 inch. But then it'll say score at 1 inch. You can even score it in the middle. Score it again at 3 inches. So now you have 2 score lines. And when you fold it, it'll be something like that. So every time you score something, this is where your fold line will go. Okay. So if you have a double score here, you fold it twice. And that's what you'll get. You'll get a big return here of 1/8 of an inch. This is good for when you're placing those parts onto other parts, okay? If you're putting more paper here, more photos, you know, if you have a pocket and you're putting things in, it'll lay nice and flat. Well, if you do a one score line over a piece of paper, it'll usually pop out like that. So this is how it will look with 1 score line. This is how it will look with 2 score lines. It'll lay more flat. Okay? So usually the larger pieces that will go on top of our page will do a double score, and the little ones that will go under will do once. When you do 3 score lines and you fold it, it'll create sort of a little rounder fold. So this is good if you're doing closures. If you want to do something that will go over larger amount of paper, you do those 3 score lines. Now for the pocket. So we have on the pocket, we have score lines that meet each other. And if you'll start folding them like that, what you'll get a little bulky part here. So we're cutting those out by trimming it in a diagonal right where the score line meets. And now when you fold it, it's not going to overlap. It'll leave a little space here, but which is fine. Okay. And when you're gluing it onto the page, you're only gluing those 3 areas, and then you leave this space free. So let's suppose this is our base. Okay. What do we have here? We have an 8.5 by 6. We have a little piece here that's 8.5 by 6. Let's make it 8 by 6. Okay. Suppose this is my base and I want to trim it. No, you know what? We started with this as a base. So let's just do 2 of them. We did this one 6.5 by 6. Let's do it also 6.5 by 6. Let's do 2 of them. Okay. Let's do it that way. Actually, it was 6 and I think we did the base 6 and 5/8 by 6. Let's just make sure we're doing it correctly. 6 and 5/8 by 6. 6 and 5/8. And I'm double scoring. So this is how we build a page. You have 2 base pages. It'll be, let's say, A1 and B1. Okay. Are the same size. And I folded one side on each one of these. Now we're going to attach them together and create a pocket. I'm going to take some of my double side tape and I'm holding it with my right hand. I'm guiding it and putting it down. And when I have it at the edge, I just cut it. After you place it on the wing here, you want to flatten it out, burnish it so that there's no air pockets in here. Okay. You don't have to use a double side tape. You can use regular glue if you prefer it. And I think this one bottle is almost empty. Let me just see if I can squeeze a little bit more out of it. No, I don't know if I can squeeze anything out of this. Maybe it's just clogged. Okay. So you can also do that and take regular glue. You put this wing on this side where, you know, you're attaching both wings have to face each other. Both of those folds have to face each other. And you're putting it at the edge of the page. Like that. And you're doing the same thing on this side. You take this wing here. Now, if you're just a beginner, I would recommend your first albums to use either regular glue or a combination of the two, because when you're using a tape, once you put the tape down, it's very hard to remove it if you made a mistake. While if you're using regular glue, it's just a little easier to take it out and start over because it takes a minute or two to dry out. Okay. So look what we have. We have a pocket page here. And we're going to be building our pages on top of the bases. The way that you build them is the folds are on the top and on the bottom, so that you're going to have an opening on the right and on the left. This is where the book is going to get attached to. And over here, you can put a pocket inside. Okay. So that's your base page. Then you have flaps. A flap you can put on top. So if you take your hinge and apply it on the top, the flap will open up. That's a top flap. You can do a bottom flap where you glue it here on the bottom and it'll flap down. A right flap will flap to the right. A left flap will flap to the left. So they all flap, they're all getting attached exactly the same way. It's just a different direction. You can also put it in the center of the page if you like. But normally, if I don't mention anything about putting it in the middle, it'll go on the edge. Okay. And you apply the tape. Make sure it's centered. This is why I use a grid mat, because it's just easier for me to use it to align my pieces. If you don't have a grid mat, what you'll do when you're attaching the parts is take your ruler and with a pencil you can make a mark. Where it's going to go. So you have your pencil marks right there. And then you can put your piece where you want it to go. So let's put the pocket here. And because I'm demonstrating, I'm going to use both tape and regular glue. So I'm going to use regular glue for the pocket. And when I'm applying glue, I try to put not too much, because then it'll smear all over the place and you really don't need so much. If you feel you have too much, you can take your glue spreader and just spread it. Okay. And put it down. And now you have a pocket where you can put things in. Okay, let's take this and we'll put this on the other side. Let's say we're going to put it on this side here on the right, so this will be a right flap. And notice I'm always gluing it on the top. You most certainly can, if you want, glue it underneath. But I usually do it this way. So what happened is you'll see there are lines where your flaps were attached. However, when you're putting pattern paper over it, it'll cover it and you will not be able to see it. Okay. This is a good time also if you want to trim some edges, trim some corners. You can create round circles if you don't have a paper trimmer like that or corner cut like that. You can use just regular scissors and cut a little triangle out. It's also interesting. Okay. All right, another feature that we usually use when we do our albums is do flat pockets. And a flat pocket is when we have a piece cut and we don't fold anything. So let's just cut this one at 6 inches. So this piece is 6 by 2.5, and it'll just say flat pocket. Okay, and it's just a regular piece, no folds, and you glue it on 3 sides. Okay. And this side is open, so you can put you can still put things here. The difference is on the flat pocket you can't fit a whole lot in it, while with regular pocket you can fit a lot more. It has more room in there. And so on and so forth, all the different parts. Okay, the second column in my cut list are the solid cardstock, and this will be solid, and it's usually color coordinated with the collection that I'm using. So let's say I want to do this green. Okay, so let's take the green and do, let's say I want to put it here. Okay, so we said this is 6 by 2.5. I'm going to cut it at 2 1/4. And 5 3/4, and I cut 2 of them. Okay. So I'm giving you the measurements of what are the pieces that that will go over a certain part. So we did a right flap here, right? A4 is a right flap. And we cut it at 5 1/2, and it was triple scored by 2 1/2. Okay, that's this piece. The solid pieces that will go over it, I cut 2 of them, so I wrote 2 times 2 times it means 2 of the same. Okay. At 1 1/4, at 2 1/4 by 5 1/4. Okay, 2 1/4 by 5 1/4. They will appear on the column next to it. Solid. Sometimes I'll put the color of the solid color cardstock. Sometimes I will not, and then you can choose whatever color you want. Okay, but if I put it on A4, on the same row as A4, okay, which means this is A4, both sides is A4. This whole piece is A4. So the A4 solid will go on top of A4 right here. I'm going to also trim the little bit of the corners here so it'll match. Let's cut the corners. Okay. And they will go on top of A4. Now watch, whenever I'm placing a color cardstock, or later when I put the pattern paper on top of it, I don't put it all the way to the edge. It always will have a little space around it, like a frame. And there are 2 reasons. First of all, it looks nicer. And second, it'll have less wear and tear. It's not going to come up around the edges. Okay, so we're going to take that and I'm putting the glue around the edges and a little bit in the middle. No, not too much, just a little bit. It doesn't have to be drowning in glue to do the job. Okay, and the same thing here. Like that. So this is a right flap. Okay. And we're going to do the same thing here. Let's say I want to take pattern paper now. So we'll take your pattern paper. Okay. And my pattern paper, sometimes if I'm doing a very detailed tutorial, it'll have the number of the sheet that it's coming from. So I will number them and I will put the schematics of and the number of each sheet. Let's say I will call this one 12, call this one 12 P1. So 12 for 12 by 12, P for pattern paper, 1 is the number of the sheet within the collection, because this one has 10, so it'll be numbered 1 through 10. This will be number 2, this will be number 3. Now notice it has 2 sides. I will not always say side A or side B, because I guess you can figure it out. Okay. So let's take this one. This is the 4th sheet. So I'll take this one. No, let's take something else. Let's take this one. Let's use this bird right there. Okay, so when you defer to your cut list, on A4 is the right flap. I don't have anything right now, but I'm going to do the A2 top flap. Okay, let's do the A2 top flap. I'm going to cut a piece that is 3 3/4 by 5 3/4. Okay, that's the size that's mentioned here. Now, because my pocket, my flap flaps up, and I'm doing the bird, I want the 4 to be on top and the 6 to be here, right? 4 on top and the 6 here. So it'll have to be cut this way, not this way. Because then if you cut it this way and you put it here, your bird will sit like that, and you don't want that. You want her bird to show this way. So be mindful when cutting that you are looking at the pattern paper on the right angle. Okay. So here I'm going to cut it at 3 3/4. And I have to trim this edge here because I don't really need this thing here. Let's take this out. And this will be cut at 5 3/4. Okay. Look what happened. You have a little piece left. You can either take your scissors and finish the job like that, or a knife. And this piece I'm going to put right there. Of course, I want to round the corners just like I rounded the base. So let's round the corners. And that's your piece of pattern paper. Okay. It'll have enough room around the borders. You still want the borders around. And before you apply glue or do anything, make sure that the size fits, that you have enough room around the borders. Okay? When you're happy with it, you can continue. The next step that we're doing to all pattern paper is we're going to remove that white core that we see. And we have a couple of options. The first option is you can take a marker or something like that, you know, in black and gold, whatever, and you can mark it like that. And that will very nicely give like a black border around. Okay. So this is with black. Okay. I would use a permanent marker with slanted tip. Okay, this is a slanted tip where it goes in a diagonal because it's just easy to hold and it's not going to move around. If you're using a round tip, it's not going to be accurate. Okay, a second option is you can ink the edges, and this is my preferred method. It really depends on the paper, but if I'm using something that's more vintagey, I will use that. Okay. And you just take it and go like this around the edges and ink everything. Okay. Because I already put black here, let me show you on another piece how it will look like. You know what, let me show it to you on this. Okay, here you'll see it really good on the solid. It gives it a nice vintage finish. Okay. So you want to take that one and put it on top. Again, use regular glue or use the tape. Let me do the tape on this one. Let me take that 1/4 inch just so that you'll see how I do it with the narrower tape. Okay. And I put it on top of on the back side of the pattern paper as close as possible to the edge without going over. So I'll show you different ways. Okay. So this is still good because, I mean, even though it has a little bit of space there, this is very good because it goes all the way to the edge and it doesn't go over. But supposedly you did that, and you did go over, okay? And you see over here it went over. It's going to be sticky and you want to remove it. So just take your blade and with your blade, just remove it. You know, if you have sharp enough blades, it shouldn't be a problem. It just comes right off. Okay, and you cleaned it out. Okay, so after you put the tape on around the edges, and it has to go around the edges unless it's fussy cut and then the edge is not straight. Okay. And then you want a few strips in the middle, like that. So that it is, you know, it's going to be about 1 inch in between the strips. To put it down, okay, start at one side, make sure it's aligned, and then put the rest of it down. So let's take another one of my tools that I didn't show. It's a little pick tool. It's what you use to, you know, the dentist used to pick their teeth with, or there are also craft pick tools. Let's open this corner. So just take a little bit out of here, okay? Just a little bit. I took this corner out, okay? And I'm starting to measure it from this corner because this corner, the glue is exposed. And when I'm happy with it, when it's nice and good and straight, I press it down. Now it's not going anywhere. See, I can go like this, I can go like that. It'll still fall around the same place where I want it with straight edges. Okay. So now I can start taking the rest of the tape out. And guide it down until it's nice and straight. Okay. Another good tip is always keep a trash bin next to you because you're going to end up with a lot of pieces that you really don't need on your desk. Okay, so this is basically it. When you'll see my videos, you're going to see all of the pieces that I already cut and scored, and I've already dyed all of my edges and put the tape down. So this is just to save a lot of time. I don't need to do it on video. And when I come to assemble the page, I'm going to have all the parts cut and ready to put together. Okay. But the same thing that you will do is you will you'll defer to the cut list, and I will let you know which piece I'm working on, look at the measurements, and then cut it. Sometimes when I do the video, I will read you aloud one measurement, but then I will fix it. So always defer to the cut list rather than what I'm saying on tape. Okay, always make sure that it is the same one. Okay, if you're not sure, watch it forward a little bit and then you can make adjustments. Okay, so this is basically it. I think that's all I needed to say for this part of the basic. And if I will remember anything else, I will come back to the video and I will add more as we go. All right, so I will see you at section number A, and hope you'll enjoy it. If you have any questions or you're not sure about something, I'm always here to answer. Leave me a comment, send me an email, text me, whatever you like to do. I'm always here for you, okay? All right, I will see you soon. Bye.